Have you ever wondered why certain people always seem to attract respect, while others get walked over? It's not luck, it's not fate, it's a pattern. And unless you change how you move through the world, you'll keep getting used. The world doesn't reward naivety. It rewards those who see reality clearly. And the hard truth: if you don't recognize how people take advantage of you, it will keep happening. Some see kindness as weakness, some see trust as an opportunity, and some will push your limits, not by force, but by testing what you're willing to tolerate. The Stoics understood this. They knew that people will take what you allow. They knew that strength isn't about being aggressive. It's about seeing things as they are, not as you wish they were. So if you're tired of feeling manipulated, controlled, or undervalued, it's time to wake up. Here are 6 brutal truths about why people take advantage of you and how to stop it. So let's dive in. 1. You confuse kindness with weakness. There's a difference between being kind and being a doormat. The Stoics believed in acting with virtue, but they also understood boundaries. If you never say no, if you avoid conflict at all costs, people will sense it, and some will exploit it. Kindness without strength isn't kindness, it's surrender. Think about Marcus Aurelius. He was known as a wise and just ruler, yet he commanded an empire. He extended kindness, but he never let that kindness make him weak. Because here's the truth: when you refuse to assert yourself, you're not being kind. You're making yourself an easy target. Throughout history, some of the most powerful leaders have been those who balanced compassion with authority. Take the Roman general Scipio Africanus. He was admired for his generosity toward defeated enemies, but he never let that generosity invite betrayal. When his own political rivals tried to undermine him, he didn't beg for their approval. He walked away from Rome entirely, showing that his value wasn't tied to their acceptance. People test your limits. If you never push back, they will keep pushing forward. This isn't just about history. It's a law of human nature. In any environment, whether it's work, relationships, or social circles, those who fear conflict will always end up serving those who embrace it. So, ask yourself, are you truly kind, or are you just afraid of disappointing people? Because real kindness has boundaries. 2. You ignore red flags. Seneca once said, "Fate leads the willing, but drags along the unwilling." In other words, we either see the truth early or suffer the consequences later. Many people who get taken advantage of see the warning signs but choose to ignore them. Why? Because they don't want to believe that someone they trust could be using them. But the Stoics teach us to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Look at history. Julius Caesar ignored the warnings about his assassination. He was warned multiple times, by soothsayers, by his wife's dreams, even by a friend who handed him a written note detailing the conspiracy. But he dismissed them, believing that his power and influence made him untouchable. The result? He walked straight into the hands of those who betrayed him. The same principle applies in life today. Maybe a friend only calls when they need something. Maybe your boss constantly asks you to do extra work, but never acknowledges it. Maybe a partner repeatedly breaks promises, always with a good excuse. These are red flags, and every time you ignore them, you give that person permission to keep taking advantage of you. There's a saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The problem is, most people don't. They make excuses. They give second, third, and fourth chances. They tell themselves, maybe this time will be different. But the Stoics would tell us to trust patterns, not words. If someone consistently lets you down, stop expecting them to change. Ignoring red flags doesn't prevent betrayal, it guarantees it. 3. You over-explain yourself. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Many people get taken advantage of because they feel the need to explain, justify, and over-explain every decision. They think that if they just provide enough reasoning, others will understand and respect their choices. But here's the hard truth. People who want to use you don't care about your explanations. They care about control. Look at how skilled negotiators operate. In high-stakes business deals, the most powerful people say the least. They make a decision, they state it clearly, and they don't feel the need to justify it. The moment they start over-explaining, trying to make the other party understand or feel good about it, they lose leverage. The same principle applies in everyday life. Let's say someone asks you for a favor and you say, "I can't." If they push back, "Oh, but it won't take long," you might feel the need to explain further. "Well, I also have this other commitment, and I'm really exhausted." But the more you explain, the more ammunition you give them to argue. "Oh, but if you're tired, you can just do it tomorrow, right?" This is why the Stoics valued brevity. A strong person says, "No, I can't," and that's it. No long-winded justification, no emotional defense, no trying to make the other person feel better about your decision. Even in history, some of the greatest leaders and thinkers understood the power of silence. When Napoleon Bonaparte was negotiating with rivals, he would often pause and let them speak first. Why? Because people who feel uncomfortable with silence tend to over-explain themselves, and in doing so, they reveal too much. The same happens when you justify your boundaries to manipulators. The more you say, the more they have to work with. So remember, a firm no is a full sentence. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your time, energy, or peace. 4. You assume others think like you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But there's a difference between being tolerant and being naive. One of the biggest reasons people get taken advantage of is that they assume others think the way they do. If you're honest, you assume others are honest. If you're loyal, you assume others value loyalty. But not everyone shares your principles. Some people see kindness as weakness. Some see generosity as an opportunity, and some see trust as something to exploit. Take the ancient story of the Trojan horse. The Trojans assumed the Greeks thought like they did, that the gift of a giant wooden horse was an act of goodwill, a sign of surrender. They never considered the possibility that it was a deception. They assumed others operated with the same mindset they did, and that assumption led to their downfall. The same pattern repeats in everyday life. People assume that because they wouldn't lie, others won't lie to them. That because they wouldn't betray someone, others wouldn't betray them. But the Stoics teach us to observe reality without illusions. If someone consistently lets you down, stop expecting them to change. If someone lies to others, assume they will lie to you. If someone only shows up when they need something, accept what that means. This isn't about becoming cynical. It's about seeing people for who they truly are, not who you wish they were. It's about recognizing that not everyone operates with the same values you do. And once you stop assuming otherwise, you become harder to deceive, harder to manipulate, and far less likely to be taken advantage of. 5. You fear discomfort more than you fear being used. Seneca once said, We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Many people stay in situations where they're being taken advantage of, not because they don't see it, but because they fear the discomfort of confrontation. They don't want to make things awkward. They don't want to upset anyone. They don't want to deal with the tension that comes with standing up for themselves. So instead, they endure it. They let people walk over them just to avoid a difficult moment. But here's the hard truth. That moment of discomfort, it's temporary. Being used over and over again, that's what lasts. There's a psychological concept called the door-in-the-face technique. Manipulators use it all the time. They start by making an unreasonable request, one they know you'll say no to. Then they follow up with a smaller request, which suddenly seems more reasonable by comparison. If you're uncomfortable with confrontation, you'll likely give in just to avoid the pressure. And just like that, they've taken advantage of your fear of discomfort. We see this on a larger scale too. In politics, in business, in social dynamics, those who shy away from difficult conversations often end up at the mercy of those who embrace them. The Stoics, however, teach us that discomfort is temporary, but self-respect lasts. They remind us that our peace is worth more than avoiding an awkward moment. So the next time you hesitate to set a boundary because it'll be too uncomfortable, ask yourself this: is 5 minutes of tension worth a lifetime of being used? 6. You don't trust yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." At the core of being taken advantage of is one simple truth. You don't fully trust yourself. You second-guess your instincts. You hesitate to enforce boundaries. You feel guilty for saying no, as if protecting your own well-being is a crime. And because you don't trust yourself, you let others decide for you. What's fair, what's reasonable, what you should do. This is why manipulative people rarely target those with strong self-trust. They look for hesitation, self-doubt, and a need for external validation. This is seen in social engineering scams, where fraudsters convince people to hand over their personal information. They don't do it by force. They do it by creating doubt, by making the victim question their own instincts. Are you sure your account is safe? Would a real authority figure ask for this? The moment someone starts second-guessing themselves, they become easier to manipulate. The Stoics teach self-mastery. They teach us to know our values, trust our decisions, and stand firm in them, even when others don't like it. If you feel uneasy around someone, that feeling isn't random, it's a signal. If you sense someone is using you, that thought didn't appear out of nowhere. It's based on real patterns and observations. We admire people who move through life with quiet confidence, those who don't explain themselves, don't seek approval, and don't second-guess their own judgment. But that confidence isn't something they were born with. It's something they built, one decision at a time. The more you trust yourself, the less power manipulators will have over you. Because in the end, the strongest defense against being taken advantage of isn't just knowing the signs, it's believing yourself when you see them. The Stoics didn't waste time complaining about the world. They learned how to navigate it. And if you keep getting taken advantage of, the answer isn't to become bitter or cynical. The answer is to become stronger. Stop confusing kindness with weakness. Kindness without boundaries is surrender. Stop ignoring red flags. People show you who they are. Believe them the first time. Stop over-explaining yourself. A firm no is enough. Stop assuming others think like you. Not everyone operates with your values. Stop fearing discomfort. Short-term awkwardness is better than long-term regret. Start trusting yourself. Your instincts are there for a reason. Listen to them. The world will test you. It always has. But the good news? You don't have to be an easy target. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe, turn on post notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in our next video.